Hello, and welcome to the next episode of Two Girls Talk Transits. Today we're reviewing the astrology from July 27th through August 2nd, 2025. And we're your host. I'm Maddie.
And I'm Kaylee.
And welcome back. So, we're going to talk about a shorter week this week. Not a whole lot going on after we're leaving last week with the new moon in Leo. But we start off on the 30th of July, which is going to be that Wednesday during the middle of the week. So kind of quieter moon aspects leading up to it. But on the 30th, Chiron will station retrograde in Aries. So just another sort of outer planet shift change. Chiron is doing a really long journeying in Aries, so this is not anything that's new in any way, shape, or form. And it's not changing signs this year or anything, so it's not that important. But I do think it being kind of the first aspect after that really more intense new moon in Leo, it may just speak to some wounding collectively or some challenges that we're feeling within ourselves. Like Aries is still very much a sign of like self-independence and determinism and those beliefs and directions. And so there's just a pain point or like a wound that kind of starts to be highlighted, I think, right after that new moon. And yeah, the moon in Libra is opposite it, which is interesting for today, as like really emphasizing the fact that there's some pain point that we have to address to move forward. How do
Yeah.
you feel about it?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of agree with you since it is like a longer transit, like a 6-month thing. And Chiron is kind of like, it's kind of silent unless it makes aspects. We really don't like notice it all that much. But, it turning retrograde, especially with the Aries component, I think maybe it's like that challenge point of like, um, like Aries is very much about leadership and like going in our own direction and going our own path and like, like you mentioned, like honoring the self and moving forward from that perspective. Um, so there could be some kind of like wound as it pertains to that. Like, how can we stand up for ourselves or, um, be independent where we need to be, yeah, which is just like something that we're all collectively working on. Um, like you said, since this is, like a 8-year transit, Chiron moving through Aries. So yeah.
Yeah, I think with like the new moon that was opposite Pluto,
Mm-hmm.
that is kind of brought up like a pain point to your self identity or expression because of external factors, because of the government, because of this, because of some other outsiding, othering force. And so it speaks then to a wound of like, what can I actually control? Or what do I actually have agency over? What is actually, can I be a leader over? Is it less than what I thought? That I wonder if that's kind of the piece that gets brought up like right after that. Because it's really like the sun opposite Pluto was literally our last aspect, planetary
Yeah.
aspect until this one.
There are some like big themes of self, right? Because like Leo and Aries are both like very self-centered signs. They do have some like key differences, like Aries is ruled by Mars and then Leo is ruled by the sun. So Leo doesn't necessarily have to like do anything. It's not so much like action oriented. It's kind of just like showing up in self authenticity and like that authentic self expression is like what is more like that self central focus. But Aries has that like more action oriented, like you need to do the things, to like strike out in a certain direction. But um yeah, there's just definitely like those themes of like self coming up. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if like the new moon and following until we hit this transit, we're just like really focused on like ourselves and like what can we personally do on an individual level. Yeah, just like a lot of self-centered themes. We all have to like think about what part do we play in the larger picture from time to time.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. I mean, it's Leo season too, so this is the
Exactly.
time to be thinking about yourself anyway. And
Right.
like, yeah, your agency and your actions and all of that. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Anything else you want to mention about Chiron?
No, we can move on.
Okay. The next one we have, it actually happens on the same day, but I'm gonna push us ahead a day so that we can actually see it move into Cancer. Um,
Yeah, yeah, because it doesn't even happen until like I think it was like 11:47 p.m. on the 30th. I was like, well, okay.
yeah, it's like really late at night. Yeah. So at in the evening on the 30th, but basically on the next day we have Venus entering into Cancer. I think this will be nice, like nice focus on um like Cancerian things. Some astrologers I think have been like mentioning that with Jupiter transiting Cancer, like there's this kind of like glorification of like home life and like the trad life or the trad wife thing like coming back into, style and I feel like Venus might bring up some more of those things, where it's like cute to be a mother or like cute to be a homemaker or, just these like general trends towards like Cancerian things. I do think like what's notable about Venus transiting here though is we will like square those outer planets, Neptune and Saturn, and we'll talk about that later. So it will like immediately meet a square, which is a little bit uncomfortable. Um, but then, as it goes forward, it'll have a conjunction to Jupiter, which will be super nice. But nonetheless, as a whole, I think that it'll be sweet, like cute. I think Venus and Cancer is super cute and um, like aesthetic and homey. What do you think?
Yeah, I always kind of like I can see how cancer is related to home, but I also kind of like, is it really, or is it really just related to like nurturing, and like
Hmm.
what you choose to nurture and like it's just easier to nurture the home because that's what we have control over, but not everyone has like a strong home life. So it's like, what can you nurture? But it is like, I do think like Venus and Jupiter are like really asking you to find comfort. Like, this is the sign of the moon, and emotional comfort is what like Cancer really represents. And so,
Yeah.
like, wherever that is for you, you're nurturing that. Like, is it your home life? If that's so, that's awesome. But if not, like, is it like your alone time, or is it like your time out in nature or with friends? Is it your community? Like all those things that you really just feel like, oh, I can like settle in this and feel like really nurtured and comfortable is like really powerful. And Venus here has a day chart, triticity rulership in water signs. So, like, she is very kind of moving more into a place of like power than she was in Gemini, especially with like Mercury being retrograde. So, like, there is something with Venus being very prominent, and Jupiter's exalted here. So, both of the benefics are kind of in really beautiful places. Yeah, minus that Saturn Neptune square we'll talk about. It's kind of like the rite of passage. Like, they're like the trolls at the gate of the bridge, like guarding the rest of
Hmm.
the beautiful bounty in Cancer. Um, After that, though, like I do feel like wherever Cancer is in your chart, it's just going to get like a lot of really sweet gifts, at least for the month that Venus is in here. Um, and it's just like really all it is like what is slow, what is comforting. Like this is not really good energy for like taking a lot of action. And I don't think it will be for like a while, like because Mars will be entering into Libra. And
Yeah,
yeah,
definitely.
yeah, there's not a lot of like new action, but more about like cultivating comfort and like peace and like whatever that looks like for you. But like that is the real gifts that we're getting with this energy.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. Like it's an invitation to kind of take things slower, especially with like
Yeah,
Mars moving into detriment. Like we do have that like, okay, it's okay to like nurture yourself and not be like pushing all the time and like trying to
right,
achieve something. But you did mention something before, um, when you were like, oh, I don't know if cancer like is really associated with home. Like it can be like, how do we nurture yourself in different areas? The way that you can do that is just by looking at your chart and seeing where does Cancer rule and like where are you getting those gifts of like nurturance. So like Maddie had mentioned, like alone time, she has Cancer in the 12th. Um, so or ruling her 12th. So, like alone time might be like a really big significance, like when Venus moves there, especially with Jupiter already there. And like for me, Cancer rules my third. Um,
mm,
and my third holds my IC, so it's very like home
yeah,
related. Um, but it also is like really significant with my siblings.
mm.
So we are going to Disney World when like Venus and Jupiter conjunct, so I think that's pretty cute.
Oh, that will be so fun.
Yeah, so that's just like a little, how do you say? Like an idea of like what kind of blessings might
Yeah,
be coming in. So like paying attention to like that Cancer ruled house will really like clue you in. And I think it really does like hold some cute blessings. Um,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, Cancer in the fourth is like it's the ABC houses from modern astrology. And I go back and forth because I know a lot of people swear by them. Like Aries is the first, Taurus is the second, Gemini's third, and
Yeah.
Cancer is the fourth. But there's just there's no relationship to it in Hellenistic traditional or even medieval astrology. And
Mm-hmm.
so that's where I'm like, we kind of just made it up to make it easier for people to learn astrology because the associations can be similar. But if you dive in deeper, it's like, what are we actually looking at deeper? And in deeper and in Cancer, it's just about nurturing, and nurturing does tend to have naturally more in home life, but it doesn't have to be, especially if you don't have a great home life or, you don't have a great comfortable place to like have that. Maybe nurturing for you is like out in school or your community or like, just out in the world instead. So like that's just what I like to think about is like why do we associate those two together?
Yeah, well, I
There's
think
like
the
a deeper
moon,
meaning. Go
yeah,
ahead.
I think the moon too, though, plays a part in that, like ruled by the moon.
Yeah.
I think, that like people have seen the moon as like associated with like home things, and maybe that too could be like that, significance of like the first house means this, the second house, blah, 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 and then matching the zodiac signs with it. Um, but yeah, I mean, it doesn't necessarily have to mean that either. Like, have you done the story? It's like, Aries like emerges into the world and then immediately
Oh
afterwards, what
yeah.
does it do? Like Taurus, it like has a home, like it like builds stability or something, right?
Yeah, it gets resources. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's funny because like I get that, but it's funny because the planets actually move the other way through the sky. So they move up. So
Mm,
you actually move through the 12th, the 11th, 10th. So it's
hmm.
like, how does that work? So
Yeah.
yeah, and then like I think where the house system, the ABC houses really breaks for me is traditionally like Jupiter or like the 12th house is Pisces, and the 12th house is such a harsh negative house, and to be ruled by Pisces who's in ruled by either Neptune or traditionally Jupiter, like those are so positive transcendental places, and it's like you're kind of like spiritually washing the 12th house, like, oh no, loss doesn't happen here, you're just transcending it. Like,
Yeah.
so like I think in the 11th, like ruled by Aquarius, that does not fit for me. I don't know, like the 11th is
Yeah.
the joy of Jupiter, and then to put Aquarius as the rule, like I'm like, okay, well, where are we getting that?
Yeah. Yeah. It could have been like something that was created, like you said, to help people like learn it
Yeah, I think
easier.
it was to help people learn it, but I'm
Yeah.
curious with like medical astrologers, how do they justify it? But you know what? Those are all discussions for a
I know.
later time.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
We'll
yeah.
we'll move on here. Anyways, Venus and Cancer is sweet. That's the gist of
For
it.
the most part, yeah, it will be.
Yeah. So then on the 31st, the last day of July, we will have the Sun and Mercury conjunct together in Leo as the heart of our Mercury retrograde, and very, very hot and fiery in Leo. So this is just the moment where you get some insight, and this is this latter half of the retrograde cycle where you really gain awareness about what you've been reviewing, what you've been revising around your identity or your sense of self, or how you want to be perceived or show up in the world. And this game moment where things start to click or be understood or like really begin to maybe make some sense for you in a way. I just feel like it's also very potent energy of like really wanting to show up and shine and push against old norms, but we're still in the retrograde, so there's still some like things that you're just gonna have to stand strong on. And maybe during this conjunction, you realize, no, this is actually true for me, and I'm not gonna back down on it. Or you realize, maybe I do need to change my viewpoint because I learned new information that I don't actually want to stand by anymore.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. The Mercury retrograde is super significant here, I think, and um, yeah, it's just gonna be interesting energy, but I think it's kind of like deciding like how do you w- maybe like what do you want to say or how do you want to like vocalize or like we are in this Mercury retrograde, which is like making us review like what our message is, what's our, what is it that we want to like carry out in the world and how do we want to like impact things.
Yeah.
And yeah, there's just this like big review. Like, do you want to continue your previous message or do you want to maybe like you said, Maddie, like take the information that you've learned and like create something new or, like shine a new message on it. Um, so yeah, I think this is going to be like more internal banter than it will be like external. And the reason that I say that is because Mercury being in retrograde, because I think if it were direct, it would be more like, you're sharing ideas. But I'm seeing this like Mercury retrograde is more like receptive, even though it meets the sun in Leo, which is like very external. But I'm seeing it as like an internal like revelation of some sort. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel that. I mean, I feel like if you're conscious and more aware of yourself, it should be more internal because you're still processing. But maybe people who are a little more unhealed and can't,
Yeah, I might just like share, yeah, off the cuff.
yeah,
But
they're just like sharing off the walls. I do feel like sometimes too, like with Leo, because it's such a sign of like self expression that like Mercury retrogrades here tend to bring up a lot of like false information or like highly opinionated information that's actually not true for like objective proof. So like did you see I mean the whole meme that went around like when Mercury first station retrograde with the CEO at the Coldplay concert, right? Do you remember that? But he didn't, but he supposedly released a statement about it, but it was actually fake. Like somebody just used his letterhead and like all that and like did chat GPT it. But like I think it's a lot of like that. Like someone's like, I'm gonna pretend to be this person and release this information and like, like share it out, but it's actually false. Like I feel like that could be a Mercury Sun moment where you're like, oh, wait, they didn't actually say that, or like,
yeah, like sneaky significations. Yeah.
yeah, and it could be more minor, but I think it would be like something like that, or someone like really gaslighting you about something they did say and then turning around and be like, no, I didn't.
Yeah, yeah. Mercury retrograde can definitely be so tricky. Like it can be like, I don't know. So many Mercury retrograde moments have been happening to me. Like, I've been like, dang, I am like hating it. Like, I am typically a really good academic writer, and I
Yeah.
like fudged up one of my school papers so bad. And I like looked back at it and I was like, what was I doing? Like, what happened here? Like, And I was just like kicking myself and I was like, free Mercury retrograde. Like it's
Yeah.
got me.
Like,
And then yeah, go ahead.
no, I was just saying, like, the way you were going to express yourself was just like, oh, wait, that was so wrong.
Yeah, exactly. It's like the, expression point, I've been
Yeah.
also like I get really weird when Mercury goes retrograde because I'm like I get afraid to speak because I like you said I get afraid to say something wrong and then like
Right.
because it's just like that I don't know what it is. It's like just can spread misinformation so easily. So yeah, this might be like a day where like a lot of misinformation goes around and people like start being like, "Oh my God, did you see that?" But it's like none of
Yeah.
it's real. Yeah.
I was one more example for that just because it's recent, but Ozzy Osbourne passed away. Rest in
Mm-hmm. Tell
peace.
me.
I know. But I was also like, oh, I love rock. I'll like do a little write up on his birth chart. But then I was like, there are so many wrong birth times. And like
Mm.
the two different systems we use to pull celebrity birth charts have like two different answers. And I was just noticing like all over like Blue Sky and stuff, like people being like, I just spent 40 minutes on this whole reading and now I don't know the birth chart's right. I was like, I feel like that's such a like Mercury retrograde thing as well.
Really?
We don't
Yeah.
actually have a good birth time. I kind of more so agree with the rectified timed, but like again, like that's all like Mercury retrograde. Like we're not actually gonna know that, you
Yeah. We're
know?
not going to be totally sure. Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah.
Well,
So,
just as a personal note, like just be aware of like what you hear and maybe don't take everything with a grain of salt, like don't take everything as 100% truth and like sometimes it can be for like shock value. This would be like rage bait kind of time. So,
oh my God,
yeah.
Leo's and rage bait, man. I swear.
Mm. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, so on August 1st, let me clear this off. So on Friday, August 1st, we have Venus. So this is Venus's day. And we
Nice.
have Venus making a square to that Neptune in Aries and Saturn in Aries. And they're both
Yeah.
retrograde. Yeah, so like Maddie mentioned earlier, I liked that analogy that you used of like the trolls, like before you get to the other side. It reminded me of like Alice in Wonderland when like, you think it's so beautiful, but then like the Queen of Hearts is in there and she's such a raging biatch that you're like, oh my God, this place sucks. Um, so, yeah, it might be like, Cancer's supposed to be like Venus and Cancer's gonna feel really beautiful, but we might immediately be met with like some sort of like restriction or confusion or, like this might be like a restriction on our desires. So it's like we're desiring something, we're desiring, maybe something related to that Cancer house. And then, immediately some kind of restriction or like hard point comes in. And we're like, dang, can I make it to the other side? Like, can I, reach that thing that I'm desiring to attain? And the answer is yes. But, first you might have these like blockages that come in. What do you think, Maddie?
Yeah, I don't know. I was trying to think of like a good imagery for this because like it feels like you are, Venus and Jupiter are like in this pool, like, right? It's beautiful pool. It's like overlooking the ocean or something, drinking their little drinks and chilling out. But like
Mm-hmm.
right in the corner of your eye, and it just won't go away. There's just like these really, it's like your boss or like some like a security guard or something just like staring at you and watching your every move and judging you and critiquing you. And it's like you're
Yeah.
just trying to they feel like that's Saturn and Neptune. They're like, you can't enjoy yourself yet. Like, you didn't finish this. You didn't do
Mm-hmm.
this, and it's like this last point moment where you're like, I'm trying to get away from you, like, go away. And it's demanding this additional it's just this like two pieces of our lives, I think, where one area of our life is really pleasant and is more enjoyable and it's where we tend to want to escape to. But like the other part of ourself that craves passion and excitement and achievement is also demanding a lot of work and time. And it's like you have to sacrifice some of your ease to fulfill those demands. And it's only for a little bit longer. I mean, they're both moving backwards. They're like slowly retreating into the bushes, but like, it's like you can still like feel the energy in that first square. It's like, oh yes, I made it. I can vacation, but oh, I forgot. I gotta like write this report and submit this over if I still want this job or if I still want this future for myself. It's like the if and moments. And yeah, Saturn here in that higher, like overcoming square position is still like very limiting. And you can't really avoid it.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I like what you said. I think it really is going to pertain to like our Saturn ruled houses. I think
Right.
there's going to be like a lot of responsibility that we still have to take care of. So, if you want to look like, what do I like, what maybe will these like blockages or difficult things be that come up? I think it's going to be related to those Saturn ruled houses. Um, and like Saturn being ruled by that Mars in, Virgo, but is about to like pop into Libra in not too long. But anyways, in Virgo right now, I think it's like we're having this like almost cooling down aspect of like we mentioned before of like action. So it's like I think there will be this feeling of like I just want to like enjoy things, but like you mentioned, like there's still those things like I gotta do first. Um, so yeah, there will be it's just like kind of task oriented, like, what do I gotta knock out of the way and like do, even though I want to be like sitting on the beach with a pina colada.
Exactly. Yeah. And
Yeah.
uh I'm not looking forward to like the Mars Saturn opposition in Libra and Aries. Like I don't know, like, planets like Saturn right now, like in Aries, like they're not playing by the rules. Like Saturn is supposed to make structures and to bring like fairness sometimes, or just to bring like efficiency in government and situations to like control. And in Aries, there it's like someone's opinion is governing everything. And then
Yeah.
Mars is like going to be trying to appease everybody. And so like these planets are not, I don't know. That's another topic for next week, honestly. But I just
And
feel like
kind of
we
very
kind of get a
indicative.
taste of it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of like very indicative of the current presidency, though. It's like all the
Right.
rules are kind of like out the friggin' window, and it's just like whatever
Yeah.
he
And
says
it doesn't
goes.
matter. Nothing
Yeah.
matters. Like nothing is like being regulated. None of the due process is being followed. Like
Hmm.
nothing is all this one person who is just suddenly making every rule and everyone's like, yeah, yeah, we'll just do it this way, even though it's totally against our constitution, but it's okay.
I
Like,
know it's not, honestly not making sense, but I think it's that like whole like authoritarian, like that Aries energy that's kind of like,
yeah.
almost dictatorial in a way that's like just makes everybody be like, okay, like I guess, and Saturn in like a placement that it would be strong in, like let's say Saturn's in Cap, that would be like,
Right.
no, we're following the rules. We're doing it this way. But since it's not there, it's in Aries, it's like, being bitched around by that one person. So, so
Yeah.
that's kind of how it is.
So I know it's gonna be like real frustrating. It is the worst I think it is gets right now with Saturn with Neptune there too, because it's just like confusion, like, oh, maybe the
Hmm.
rules aren't real,
Yeah, what are
Like,
those things? Why do we even make those? Yeah.
wait, I don't remember appointing that person. It didn't happen. I'm gonna gaslight you,
Mm,
like
I know, I know.
so
It's,
oh
yeah.
well. Yeah,
Well,
well, that's all I had for this week.
yeah, I think it'll be like a pretty easy week. I don't think we have anything like super intense. We are ending the week off with that square. Um,
Yeah.
but
But
I
after
mean,
that, it will be easier. Like after Venus gets past that square on Friday, like it will feel much better going into the weekend.
yeah, yeah, I hope so. Venus has been going through it because last week we had the Mars square with Venus,
Yeah.
and then this week we have the Saturn square. So there's definitely been some tension on Venus.
Yeah,
Hence the reason why I'm recording this and I'm sick because Venus rules my body and I can't take
literally.
it. So, but yeah, look to your like Venus ruled houses. That'll clue you in. There's some tension going on there for a little bit. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
but then she's running straight into the arms of Jupiter, so
Yeah,
she'll
so
be okay.
yeah, so she just had to fight the battle first and then she
Yeah,
gets her
literally.
yeah, gets her rewards. Yeah.
Yeah, some
Hmm.
tensions there, but then there'll be a nice reprieve. All right. Well, if you want more content from us, then you can follow us on TikTok and Instagram and YouTube, and we will see you all next week.
See you.
Bye.